Alright, welcome back guys. This is Tasha from Scruffy Fam. Today we are going to be showing part 2 of our medicinal herbs on the homestead video, and today we're specifically talking about the wild herbs that we have and also some ones that were planted here by previous homeowners which have kind of gone wild. And wild herbs I think are one of my most favorite things ever because so many of them are so misunderstood or even hated by our culture, and they just, if we knew what they were for and how to utilize them, I feel like we would have a very different approach even just to our front lawns. So I'm kind of on a mission to spread the word of how amazing some of these wild and weedy plants are. So without further ado, let's get into it and hope you enjoy. So we're going to start with this guy. Do the pan up here. This is a mullein, which I'm really excited. It's a tall one. I'm really excited that the previous homeowner let this stay here because mullein is a biennial plant and it flowers in the second year, which means last year this thing was just a short little thing that stayed on the ground and was just leaves, and then now I get to come and harvest the flowers. So the flowers are most notably known as being really great for ear infections, especially in kiddos. You infuse them into an oil and just put a couple drops of that. It works really well. The leaves, which I have already collected some of, are super fuzzy. So you can imagine if you found this plant while you were camping or in a survival situation. I'll let your imagination do the talking there. But the other really great thing is that these are superb for lung health. So if you have any irritation or like a dry cough, mullein is really great for that. But you want to make sure, because, see, I don't know if you can quite tell the texture. Because of how fuzzy they are, these little fuzzes can sometimes kind of come across as like fiberglass when you're drinking it and can irritate your throat. So you really want to make sure if you're making tea from these guys to strain them really well through like a cheesecloth or like a nut milk bag or something, just to make sure that you get all of that out. Okay, so next, I promised that I would talk about these in the garden tour. So here they are. This is our chocolate mint patch, and this was started by the previous homeowners. So this is also a good gardening caution, that if you put mint into the ground, eventually this is what it does. It just kind of takes over. It gets really big and goes everywhere. Oh my goodness, I get a chipmunk in every single one of these videos. Go away! Quit eating my food. Anyway, we have actually pulled up mint from over there where it sent runners, and I think even over by the chicken coop. So it's really great. It can be super helpful. I mean, obviously it's medicinal. This one is chocolate mint, so it's a little bit gentler in flavor. It's not going to be as strong as peppermint, but found out recently that peppermint is actually the hybrid. Spearmint is the original plant that was like found natively. Thought that was kind of interesting. So these guys are really great. We like to come out and I'll cut a whole bunch of it and make a really, really concentrated strong tea, and then I'll freeze that as ice cubes. And that is one of my favorite ways to cool off in the summer, is just pop a couple of the mint ice cubes and some of the stevia extract in my water bottle, and then it's kind of like a cooling, refreshing, sweet mint tea, but you know, there's no sugar, doesn't hit my blood sugar. It's good for me. So that is one of my favorite things to do with them. This year I am also going to try doing a mint extract and see if we can get one of those for the holidays. Now, because this is a little bit of a gentler flavor mint, I'm probably going to do what's known as a probably a triple infusion. So that's what the mint leaves look like up close. So a triple infusion basically means that you pack the jar full, and ideally it would be wilted or dried leaves because they're more concentrated flavor. You can use fresh, but you'd probably need to do several more infusions than just the 3. So you pack the dried or wilted leaves into the jar, pour probably vodka. I don't see any need to do anything heavier than that or more alcoholic. Pour vodka over the top, let it sit for a few weeks, and then probably 4 to 6 weeks, and then strain out the leaves, and then use that exact same liquid, come out and collect another jar full of leaves, dry or wilt them, and then infuse those in the exact same liquid. So each time you're infusing, the flavor gets stronger and stronger. So I might make a video of us doing that. Definitely would be over on my Earthgrown Botanicals channel, so we'll link to that when that happens. But yeah, we have tons of mint here, so I think hacking some of this down for triple infusion will not be a problem at all. And then over here, kind of in the same spot, is this big guy. Now this is actually one of my favorite medicinal herbs of all time. This is a burdock. This is a baby burdock. You can see it just has 5 big leaves and a couple other ones on the ground that have been kind of eaten. So these guys primarily are used for their roots. You can make medicine out of burdock seed, but it's very difficult to obtain. It's a very long process, and there's usually worms that live in there, and ugh. But they also, they're not as widely usable. So what I really like about burdock root is you can eat it like a vegetable. Actually, if you go into Asian markets, it's called gobo, G-O-B-O. And especially the Japanese like to eat it a lot just as a vegetable. But also you can cut it into pieces and dry it, and it is amazing for digestion, specifically related to digesting fat. So if you have any gallbladder issues, or if you've actually had your gallbladder removed, burdock root tea is probably going to be an amazing thing for you. It helps to break down fats better, and it helps your body to use those fats that you do break down better. If you have dry skin, then drinking burdock tea can really help to alleviate that, because it helps your body to actually use the fats and put them into your skin cells. So because this is a first year plant, so second year plants, kind of like the mullein, they get really huge, like 5-6 feet tall, make a ton of seeds, seed pods, which are where the burr and burdock comes from, because they have little hooks on them and they get stuck in everything. And so those, if you have a second year burdock, you want to harvest the root in the spring. But these guys are going to be perfect, and it might be tricky because it's right up against our wood here for our step, but I'm going to try. Hopefully the root isn't quite as big as some of the second year ones I've dug up. But in the fall of the first year is a really great time to harvest these guys for their roots. So I will be doing that. We have quite a few of them. There's this one. We have this little guy here just starting out. And then there's another one. You can see the big leaves in the mix back here with all the other stuff. So those we'll be working on this fall, hopefully, if I can get to them before babies get here. Alright, so this is one that I really want to talk about because it is absolutely taken for granted and not understood by people. So this has a bunch of different names actually. Some people call it Creeping Charlie, which is not my preferred name because it sounds really derogatory. I prefer calling it ground ivy, or sometimes it's also called ale hoof, because they used to use this when they were brewing beer back in the day. This is actually super nutritious, It grows everywhere, which I always say, like, if a plant is that aggressive and tries to grow everywhere, then it's probably for a reason, right? Like, it's because people need it. And I wish more people understood that. So it's actually super high in vitamin C, which is why I think it makes perfect sense that it shows up so strongly in the early spring when we're just coming out of winter. We're still kind of at the tail end of cold and flu season. It's also really great if you make an alcohol extract of this, a tincture. It's amazing for seasonal allergies. Another reason why I think it makes perfect sense that it shows up in early spring before the pollen. And obviously it's super easy to find. You don't have to grow it yourself. I do actually have a tincture that I started last year, so most of these are probably going to get pulled out, but just so people know, like, you can actually make tea, you can eat these guys. They really are much more amazing than people realize or give them credit for. So honeysuckle, this one's obviously not wild. This was put here by either the last homeowner or the one before. I'm not entirely sure how long this guy has been here. They are actually edible, which I think most people probably know. You can pick these flowers off and then there's some nectar inside. They're also medicinal. So I have a what's called a glycerate, which is basically flowers in a vegetable glycerin extract that is really great for sore throats. So we haven't had any sore throats because obviously we're quarantining from COVID, so this is our healthiest year ever. But whenever we do next get sore throats, we'll be able to use that and try it out. This is my first time having access to a honeysuckle, so I have not actually tested this medicine before, but there's a lot of people who have sworn by it and said that it's really, really soothing for that. So, and it's kid safe, so that's really cool too. So we will be trying that at some point when we get the opportunity. All right, so next over here, this is one of our patches of bee balm. So this one is the cultivated variety of bee balm, which you can tell because the flowers are more of like a maroon, purple, reddish. We do actually have some that has kind of gone more back to its wild state, which is kind of a lighter lavender purple. Either way, they're used the same. You can use the flowers to make tea. I haven't done that yet. I'm not 100% sure what you would use them for. I'm actually still learning about bee balm because this is the first time I've ever actually had the opportunity to work with it fresh. But I have in the earlier spring, I did come out and collect a bunch of the leaves and dried those out, and they taste a lot like oregano. So they're actually a really good oregano substitute. They're higher in nutrients, so you can just use them as a culinary herb, or you can use them as medicine in tea. And honestly, I just saved a bunch of them because I don't really know what to make with it yet. So I have a bunch of dried leaf. I might make a tincture. Like I said, I'm still learning a lot about this one because this one is a new one for me, but they smell really good. And actually the bees love it, so I'm kind of bummed. A few minutes ago there were bumblebees all over this patch, but I might have scared them away. So even if for that as bee food, they're pretty amazing. All right, so another one here that is a new one for me to have freshly available, but very exciting. This is actually a comfrey plant. You can see here the spiral of little flowers, and the leaves are slightly fuzzy. So this poor guy has had a lot of controversy about safety, but a lot of those studies are not using the plant correctly or in amounts that like herbalists would actually use. and many of them, so the concern is the let's see if I can say this right, pyrrolizidine alkaloids, and that they can be toxic to one's liver. Well, what really happened was they extracted just this one alkaloid, concentrated it, and tested it, I believe, in mice, and of course it made them sick. And so then they said, oh, well, comfrey is dangerous. Now, I mean, it obviously is a plant to be respected and used properly, as is the case with many of them. Lots are safe for pretty much everybody, but there are plenty of medicinal plants that you want to honor when you use them and honor their potency. So these smaller leaves up here at the top are going to have less of those alkaloids. So if you did want to make a tea, comfrey is really great for mending broken bones. It's also, you can make a topical salve out of it, infuse some of the dried leaves into oil, and then you can combine that with beeswax or just use it as an infused oil. And that is really great if there are any like open wounds. So once you get a scab, you want to make sure everything scabs up first, because this can actually heal skin over an infection. So make sure that everything's all clean and healing up first. Then to prevent scarring, you can use this oil as the final layer of skin heals up. But if you did want to drink it as a tea, you could use these smaller leaves at the top. They would be much safer and have a lot less of those alkaloids you're worried about. The big leaves down there, you can see, obviously, they've been around for a while and have a lot more of those alkaloids that you want to avoid. Also, the root is medicinal. You only want to use the root topically. That is where most of those alkaloids are stored. And so making a comfrey root tea would not be very safe. However, good luck digging them up if you have a comfrey plant, because they have very deep roots, like they can get up to 10 feet deep. So they're really great as garden companion plants because they will pull up a lot of the nutrients from that deep in the soil so that other plants can use them. So even if you don't make medicine out of it, they're definitely beneficial to have in your garden. So here we have all kinds of stuff going on because this is just in our backyard. But what I want to show is this little rosette of leaves right here. So these three guys right here. These are a plant. Actually, looks like there's some bigger leaves, but they kind of died off. This plant is called Plantain. And if you pay attention to how the leaves look, so you'll notice it has the veins that run from the center all the way down to the end. I believe those are called parallel veins. If you pay attention to what this plant looks like, you will literally find it everywhere. In parks, on sidewalks, everywhere. And it is a very helpful plant if anyone gets any wounds or bug bites or anything like that. Plantain can really help, and it's as easy as breaking off some of the leaf. If like an emergency situation, you can break off some of the leaf, chew it up, put it directly onto the wound, and then cover that with a Band-Aid. And it actually will go in and help to clean out the wound and help the skin to heal up afterwards. You can also do the same for any like really nasty mosquito bites or anything like that. I have actually made a vinegar out of these guys, and that in apple cider vinegar is what I infused it in. And that is really great for the same thing. You just dip like a paper towel or a cotton swab or something in the vinegar and then rub that onto the wound or the bug bite, and it helps to take a lot of that sting and the itch away and reduce some of the inflammation. So plantain is a really great wound healing herb, and I think you can agree with me that it makes perfect sense that it grows literally everywhere, and it doesn't care how much it gets stepped on. It'll just keep coming back. It doesn't care about getting sprayed either. Right. And right next to it here, you'll see some of these like roundish heart-shaped leaves. These are the leaves left over from our violets. Now the violet flowers are obviously long gone. I don't even know if there's any seed pods down in here anymore. Violets are more of a spring flower. So I did do a couple of recipes with violets, but the leaves are also edible. I don't know that I would eat them this late in the season because they're a little bit tougher, and there's just not very many of them. But during the spring, this is definitely a good first food that you can get out and start foraging before most of the other stuff has even finished waking up. This one right here, this is Motherwort. So there's this one, and you can see there's a couple other stems here. And there's a nice little bumblebee here enjoying its flowers. This is definitely a favorite of the bees, which is another reason why I like having it here. So this one, like I said, the name is Motherwort, and it is actually a really complex, amazing plant. Now, unfortunately, not to be taken during pregnancy, so I can't partake of Motherwort right now. However, I have a Motherwort and lemon balm extract that I made last year that I'm going to be using religiously once the twins get here. So Motherwort does a lot of stuff. It is an amazing female herb, as you know, the name is Motherwort. It does a lot for pretty much every stage of being a woman. It can be really great if you have, like during menopause, if you start getting heart palpitations. Its Latin name is actually Leonuris cardiaca. So the Leonuris is, I believe, lion-hearted. So that's kind of the concept, is it comes in and supports being a woman and dealing with all the pressures that women have. My teacher always taught us that it mothers the mother. So, you know, so many women take care of everyone else in their lives, but then, you know, very few are taking care of themselves. And so the concept is that this plant just kind of comes in and strengthens you and gives you the resilience to be able to deal with life, basically. And cardiaca, like I was saying, can be really helpful. This chipmunk is yelling at me. Hey, psst. Shoot! Don't you chirp at me. So the cardiaca, like I was saying, can be really great if you get heart palpitations during menopause. Having a tea of Motherwort can really help to ease a lot of menopausal symptoms. It can ease a lot of PMS symptoms, and especially during postpartum, when you've just had a baby, it can help a lot to kind of strengthen, and like I said, that resilience, because having a newborn is not for the faint-hearted. Having 2 newborns, even less so. So that is why I will be using lots and lots of Motherwort. It is to be noted that they are Motherwort is very bitter, which is part of its medicine. You know, the bitter flavor actually helps digestion. So if you get like anxiety and then you feel like the butterflies in your stomach and have a hard time breaking down food, this also helps with that too. Or like PMS anxiety, that type of thing. So this is an amazing plant. I'm very glad to have it here on our homestead. It is totally wild. We did not put this here. And it has grown up as a weed everywhere I've lived here in the Midwest. Okay, last but absolutely not least, this is just one side shoot. So there's more peeking through the fence, there's more on the other side of the fence. This I actually did talk about in our garden tour. This is raspberry. So if you are a female and you have been in any looking at any herbal products anytime in the last few years, you've probably heard about red raspberry leaf. Well, that is literally the leaf from raspberry plants. So once I realized that we had this enormous patch out here, I came out early in the spring when they just started leafing out, and snipped off a couple of the top branches and dried those leaves and crumpled them up, and they are now ready for me to use as red raspberry leaf tea for when I run out of the stash I currently have that I bought. So red raspberry leaf is another female herb. It's really great for any stage of womanhood up through menopause. So it's specifically a uterine tonic. It is not a uterine stimulant. I hear that all the time and it drives me crazy. Drinking red raspberry leaf tea will not stimulate contractions. What it does is it helps to strengthen your uterus so that when you do go into labor, hopefully the goal is that your labor will be shorter because the contractions are able to do more and they're more effective. You need less of them. This is a good thing. Less C-sections, less pain, faster labor, all good things. So I have been drinking this semi-religiously whenever I remember. Unfortunately, pregnancy brain is also a very real thing. But it's a super easy thing to grow. It's super easy to make medicine out of, and it's very good for you. It can also be helpful if you are a younger woman, especially girls whose cycles are just starting, especially if there's any you know, sometimes when cycles first start, they're not super regular. They might be kind of weird and like really heavy one month and really light the next month, and you know, your body's still just kind of figuring out how to do the thing. So this can help a lot with that, definitely help to regulate a lot of those things. If there's any amenorrhea, which is complete lack of cycle for I think 3 months in a row, I think is the official like clinical diagnosis. Then this can also help with that. I'm not saying it would cure it. Usually when you're looking at hormonal imbalances, there is a lot of factors, but this can be one of them. And probably what would happen is this would be part of a blend, maybe with like Vitex or something else. Yeah, so this is a really amazing plant. I am super happy to have such an abundance of it right nearby. These guys, it is best to get the leaves before they've flowered, and these guys here get less sun and they have not flowered yet, whereas we have some fruits further down in the patch. So I might come out and collect some more leaves because I'm sure I'm gonna blaze through what I already have once I start using it. Alright guys, so those are all of the medicinal herbs that we have on our property. If you have any questions about any of them, or if you would like to learn, if you would like some resources to learn more about medicinal herbs on your own, then definitely feel free to pop a comment down below, message us on Instagram, but also make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel so that you won't miss any videos that are coming out later. And I'm pretty excited for some of the videos that we have planned of how to actually use some of these herbs in your everyday life. So you definitely don't want to miss that. So make sure you stick around and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye.